There we go. Oh, that might be a better one. Yes. Oh, it's a big one. It's a big one, boys. What is going on, guys? My name is Bill Matthews from the BassinBill96 YouTube channel, and in today's video, we are going to be breaking down the top 5 best springtime fishing lures. These lures are going to put more fish in your boat, and they're going to help you catch some bigger bass as well. So stick around, stay tuned. We got some footage from last spring of these lures in action, catching some big bass, but let's jump into bait number 1. So bait number 1 is going to be the Lipless Crankbait, and we're going to go in order of how fast we retrieve these baits. So this one right here is going to be the best bait in the spring for covering water. You're casting and retrieving this thing at a pretty rapid pace. And that's going to be awesome for springtime fishing because those fish, they tend to wad up in small areas. So springtime fish, you're not going to be able to find fish anywhere on the lake. They're going to be in small particular areas, and it could change from year to year too. So this bait's going to be an awesome one to kind of locate those fish and be able to cover a ton of water and find where they're at so you can really pick them apart. And last year, I caught one of my biggest Michigan bass of the year. It was just under 6 pounds. I'm going to show that fish catch right now. There we go. Oh, that might be a better one. Yes. Oh, it's a big one. It's a big one, boys. It's a big one. This is what we've been after out here. Stay on. Stay pinned. Get in the net. Get in the net. No, 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 no. Yes. 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 That's what we've been after, boys. That's what we've been after, boys. So if you guys went and watched the video on my channel, I was throwing a lipless pretty much the entire day that day. I covered that entire lake, and I think I probably caught like 7 or 8 fish. It wasn't a crazy day, but those fish were definitely relating to that weed cover, and I pretty much just covered as much water as I possibly could. And whenever I found a really good weed clump, I would stick into some good fish like that one right there. But let's jump into bait number 2. So bait number 2 is going to be the chatterbait, and right here we have the 𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃𝗃 Clickbait. I have not had the pleasure of throwing this lure yet because this just came out over the winter, but the Z-Man Jackhammer, the Z-Man Original, there's all sorts of different chatterbaits, the Strike King, Thunder Cricket, all awesome baits. And the good thing about these is you're still covering a lot of water. Usually you're retrieving it a little bit slower than those lipless crankbaits. I like to crawl these things on the bottom as slow as I can while still feeling the vibration of that blade. But same kind of situation, you're trying to find that good grass, and that's where you're going to find those big bass in the spring. So check out this fish catch last year. Got one. Got one, dude. Yes. Biggin.
Yes.
Biggin, dude.
Let's go.
Biggin. Stay pinned up. Oh, it's a good one. Yes. It's a good one. It's a good one, dude. Get her in. Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. Yes. So once again, very similar situation. Covered a ton of water that day, and that day we actually only caught like 2 fish in that lake. So very, very slow day, and both of those fish were back to back. So like I said, there was kind of a particular area. I caught like back to back 5-pounders that day actually, and fished pretty much the entire lake, not another bite. And that's what's awesome about these first 2 baits is you're able to cover a lot of water and try to find those more productive areas. But let's jump into the third bait of the day. So the third bait of the day is going to be a Finesse Swimbait. Right here we have the Biospawn Exo Swim, but you could use little Kitech swim baits. Strike King makes an awesome little rage swimmer, but when I'm talking about Finesse swim baits, we're talking about anything between like 2.75 inches to 3.25 inches right here. So smaller bait, and usually we're rigging those up on like a little 1/16 ounce or 1/8 ounce ball head jig. I don't have any with me right now, sadly, but awesome, awesome bait. Still covering some water like those first 2 baits, getting a little bit slower, a little bit more of a finesse presentation than those first 2 baits as well, but you're still able to cast and wind this thing in. I do really, really well on smallmouth bass in these, so check out this fish catch. There's a lot of little smallies in there. Oh, here we go. Yep. Big, dude. Biggin. Another big smallie. Another good smallie. She crushed it, bro. That's a pretty one. That's a pretty one. They are freaking clocking it. That's actually probably the smallest one yet that I've caught. Smallest smallie that I've caught. Yeah, another skinny one. So that was actually in Kevin Van Dam's private pond. That was one of the best days of my life. We caught some really big smallmouth on the Finesse Swimbait, and that's just an awesome bait. Early springtime when that water's really, really cold. Kevin Van Dam was actually the one. We weren't catching anything. He said, tie on a Finesse Swimbait, guys. We were throwing jerkbaits, crankbaits, stuff like that. Weren't getting bit. He said, tie in a little swimbait and chuck that out there. We started catching some of those big smallmouth. So awesome, awesome bait. Early springtime. If you can't get bit on those bulkier presentations, you might want to try one of these Finesse Swimbaits. But let's jump into bait number 4. So bait number 4 is going to be the jerkbait. Right here we have the 𝗦𝗂𝗯𝗃𝗃, and this is a bait that I caught a lot of fish on last year. I'm going to run a clip right now for you guys. We got in a school of smallmouth on this bait right here. There we go. There we go. Next cast after that last smallie. Same spot. Please be a big smallie. Feels pretty good, guys. Oh, it's another smallie. It is another smallmouth. It's not a giant, but it's another like solid 2-pounder. Guys, we're getting into the smallmouth today. Oh my gosh, it's about to go off. Literally next cast, another solid smallmouth bass. Yes. Maybe not quite a 2-pounder, but like a 15-incher, a nice long one. So as you guys just saw, we caught a smallmouth off that point right there. I actually went back to back to back on like 4 or 5 smallmouth within like 5 or 6 casts of each other. And it was all on this 𝗦𝗂𝗯𝗃𝗃. And like I said, springtime fishing, when you find them, they're probably going to be stacked up. And the cool thing about jerkbaits is the fact that they suspend. So you find those fish, you're kind of ripping it along, fishing it kind of fast, but you're still giving it those pauses in between. And in the springtime, I like to do anywhere between like a 2 to 5 second pause. And you're going to get some very, very big fish on the jerkbait. Not only smallmouth, but also largemouth. And like I said, still able to cover some water. So all these baits, I like to cover a lot of water in the spring. If you guys have not been able to tell, even these last 2 baits that are more finesse style and the jerkbait that pauses a little bit, you're still able to cast and wind these baits in and move pretty quickly. But that's bait number 4. Let's jump into the last bait of the day. If fishing gets very tough in the spring, this is the bait that I pull out. So if you guys are big fans of my channel, then you probably already guessed it, but we're talking about the Ned rig. This is bait number 5. I've caught some giant bass on the Ned rig, but it definitely catches the quantity as well. And if these baits that I already talked about today fail you, bust out a Ned rig, and I promise you it's gonna end the skunk. So if you're catching nothing, you've been out there for 5 or 6 hours, pull a Ned rig out, and you're not able to cover water really because you want to fish this thing extremely slow, especially in the early spring, but throw that thing out there and drag it on the bottom, and I promise you, you are gonna get bit. Check out this fish catch right here, another big bass on the Ned rig. Got one. Oh, it's a giant! It's a giant! Oh, get the net! Get the net! Oh my gosh, dude! Oh my gosh, dude! Are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? Are you? Oh my gosh, on the Ned rig! So those are my top 5 baits for springtime fishing. And let me just tell you guys one last thing before we end this video. Springtime fishing is one of the best times of year to fish. It can be very tough and it can be very cold outside, so a lot of people don't like to do it. Because you're not going to get a lot of bites. A lot of these lakes, it's very tough to get bit, but when you get bit, this is when you catch the biggest bass in the lake. All those giant females, they're getting ready to push up, getting ready to spawn, and they haven't seen baits in a couple months too, especially for the northern states that have been locked out through ice. This is the best time of year to get out there and throw some of these baits. These 2 baits right here, the Lipless Crankbait and the Chatterbait, catch some of the biggest ones for me, but I've caught giant bass in every single one of these baits, and like I said, it's more just springtime in general, but if you want to get out there, try some of these baits out, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and it helped you, so next time you do go out, you can catch your new personal best bass, but thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video.